Yeah, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Well, with the grace, heaven, and virtual masters and the benevolence of our transmitters, I had this privilege to present to you the continuation of the 15 precepts. So I believe I did 1 and 2, and Lecture Kai did 3 and 4 already. So I'm doing number 5 now. I may only be able to get through this one today, but it's okay. Instead of more, but if we have time, we'll do others. Okay. So, well, first of all, I'd like to say I'm glad that I'm back. It was a hectic month, 39 days or something like that, 40 days probably, that I was up in Ohio. This is just a brief rundown, and that is that, over there, because the Daokin is sort of like very spread out all over about the top half of the state, let's put it that way, the top half of Ohio. So we had a lot of driving around and running around just to try to visit a lot of places. The furthest we went was like around Columbus area, which is around 2-hour drive from Cleveland. Other areas were a little bit closer, but still, it was an interesting experience. If any of you ever have the opportunity to go, why not try it out, see how it is. Okay, so, I can't edit this. Okay, sorry. Okay, so to continue on the 15 precepts, okay, we still remember what the 15 precepts are, right? Okay, the first one is what? Right. Okay, to respect and honor the saints and Buddhas. Okay. What's the second one?
Respect the senior and guide the junior.
Junior, right. The third one?
To be proper and dignified.
斋庄重正中正 正重 zhong zhen, that's right. Chinese mixed up. Yeah, okay. So that's to what?
Follow the middle path.
Right. Okay, and the fourth?
To follow the rules.
道具 yeah 对 right. 循规蹈矩 对循规蹈 Okay, the fourth. So this is the fifth one right now. The fifth one right now is 责任负责, which literally means 负起 yeah 负起 basically it just means to shoulder the responsibilities or to carry on the responsibility, to bear the responsibilities. Okay, so again, basing it upon the 15 regulation book, the 15 rules and regulations book by Holy Teacher it was Holy Teacher. Basically, I'm basing it off that. So here's talks about responsibility. So what do we mean by responsibility? It is an obligation, an assignment, if you want to call it that. It's also the duty and work of each one of us, which must perform wholeheartedly. Okay, so that's really what is meant by how the 15 rules and regulations define responsibility, or to shoulder the responsibility. Okay, so what does it mean to have a responsibility as a cultivator? Okay, so Holy Teacher breaks it into two parts. One is first what is called 先天, which is, I define it, I sort of like literal translation of it. It's called prior heaven and post heaven. Do we still remember what those talk about? Post, because if you look at our rules and regulations when we're doing the bowing, there's a part that's the what? Prior heaven, and then there's the post heaven. Why is that? It's only because in a way that if you look at the titles of all the Buddhas, you notice that, some of these titles are talking about the same Buddha, right? They're the same Buddha. Why? Well, it has to do a little bit with what we call prior heaven and post heaven. Okay, because as we know, all the Buddhas, I'm pretty sure all the Buddhas have gone through incarnations or reincarnations in this world many times. Okay, so just as, for example, when we talk about, if you just use the simple statue, the icons or statues that's on our temple, where we have, Mila, Qigong, Yue Hui, and then also Nanhai Gufu, which is the one in the center, right? They all have gone through many, many reincarnations. And have anybody thought about why they would go through reincarnation? I mean, after all, they became Buddhas, right? And usually we say about, what do we say about Buddhas? You know, they don't have to come down. But through karma. They don't have to come down through karma, right? Right? Okay. But what's interesting about that, it's really another topic in itself, but I'll just divulge a little bit of it. When we talk about karma, right, and the Buddhas when they come down, because sometimes when we look at their reincarnations, you know, we see them like playing different roles. By that I mean not only roles in terms of being a saintly fellow or a nice Buddha or something like that, like what we know them of then, but also as almost like normal people when they reincarnate. Okay, that's very interesting. And you would ask yourself, you know, well, if they come down as normal people, you know, doesn't that sort of like defeat the purpose of having the choice to come down in the first place? You know, because after all, Buddhas and saints, once you've reached that enlightenment level, you have the choice of not coming back, right? We say, well, to a certain degree, because Lecturer Kai had mentioned about there's so many different types of Buddhas, right? Correct? Okay, there's the Buddhas of what? The heaven of, I mean, in the Buddha heaven, if you will. I'll call it Buddha heaven for just now. There's what? The Buddha heaven of desire. Then there's the Buddha heaven of non-form. And then the highest is what? No, a form, and then the highest is non-form. Is that correct? Well, I'll call it Buddha heaven for now. It's the level, if you will, that you achieve. I'll just call it Buddha heaven for the sake of argument. Okay.
Buddha doesn't reincarnate.
Yeah, because
those heavens still reincarnate.
Yeah, right. But in other words, like for example, like bodhisattvas, for example. Okay.
That's a holy state.
Yeah, that's a bodhi state. But what? They choose to come down. Okay. And then there are others who are maybe lesser than that, but they may have to come down. Okay. And why is it they still have to come down? Why? What's the reason why they still have to come down?
To help us.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's part of it. That's true. But remember, I said when they reincarnate, right? It is true that they come down sometimes as, you know, people to come and help, right? You know, like, you know, when they reincarnate, etc. But also sometimes we find stories about them that are like, they're like normal people, right? Correct? I mean, they didn't do anything spectacular in terms of necessarily like saving a lot of souls. Okay, right? Because I didn't think about that at first until I heard stories from Lecturer Kai, you know, about our Qigong, and how he said, oh, he went through many incarnations, he became blah, 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 etc. So I said, wow, really? And then so, you know, it got me thinking about, yeah, why is it that they still then have to come down? Okay, it's sort of like, maybe it was a coincidence, but then I happened to be listening to Lecturer Liu about the Buddha Nature class. He does the Buddha Nature class, right? And one part that I heard sort of like surprised me a little bit, and that was when he said this. He goes, we can have karma, that's true, we may have created a lot of karma in the past, etc. But those karmas cannot come into effect until the conditions are correct, are right. And that really makes sense. Yeah, you know, until the conditions are right for the karma to appear or grow, you know, or happen, it won't happen, right? But then I said, well, wait a minute. You know, if you become a Buddha, right? Let's say you still have karma. Because I've always said in the past, I said, you know, in order for you to become a Buddha in the first place, you have to already resolve your karmas. And I have to admit, that statement was actually not correct. Because you don't necessarily have to resolve all your karmas. Because according to Lecturer Liu, whatever past karmas you have does not necessarily come about if the conditions are not there for it to come about. And when Lecturer Liu sort of like mentioned it that way, I sort of like saying, wow, I was a little surprised by that. So then I thought about, why is it that a lot of Buddhas come back and always come back, reincarnate? Always. I mean, even, even when they have already reached what we call Buddha, became Buddhas, why is it they still come back? And then I went back and looked at the story of the Buddha himself. When he talks about his biography, he says, "Oh, I've reincarnated so many times as animals and all that stuff too." But then I compared that because I said, well, in the case of the Buddha, before he became the Buddha, okay, in his past lives, yes, it would make sense that he reincarnated. That makes sense because he was cultivating during his many lives. Okay, but then I heard about, I looked at the stories about the other Buddhas, and they went through reincarnation too. But I said, wait, but they already became Buddhas. Okay, I said, well, okay. On the one hand, you could explain by saying that, yeah, they also came to help out, etc., right, to help save more souls, and that makes sense. Okay, but then when I heard the stories about when they came to this world, and guess what? They sort of like very normal or the lives. They follow the lives dictated by whatever they reincarnated as. For example, it's a normal person or an emperor or whatever, or even a conqueror or whatever, right? So I said, does that really make sense? Why would you go through a normal, what we consider a very typical human life? By typical, I mean, any type of status, whatever kind of status you happen to be in. So I couldn't sort of resolve that. And then I thought about, what Lecturer Liu said about karma. And then it occurred to me that, you know what? Yes, it's possible. It dawned on me that it's possible. Yeah, you can still become a Buddha in spite of your karma, in spite of your past karma. Okay, because my first thought, when I thought about when I first long time ago made the statement, I say, oh, you have to resolve your karma to become a Buddha, right? I said to myself, in this lifetime, this particular life, I'm never going to be able to become a Buddha because of all my things that I've done in the past that I haven't resolved. In this life, never mind the past lives, So I said, okay, it's a hopeless cause, so to speak. But then, of course, our holy teacher still tells us that, hey, in this single lifetime, you can still become a Buddha. You can achieve that. I thought to myself, oh, okay, well, yeah, but there's limitations. There may be conditions, etc. Okay. Well, yes and no. Okay. So when I came to the realization that Buddhas do come down for the reason of, yes, to try to save people and all that stuff. But they also I say may because this is my interpretation of it, is that they still come down to what? To finish off any lingering karma. Okay, so in that sense, over time, yes, they will resolve their karmas. That's true. But the point is that they still come down to resolve those karmas. So that in the purest sense, so to speak, in the highest sense, a Buddha does have no unresolved karma. Okay, in other words, there isn't the debt that he owes that never gets paid, so to speak. Because because you think about what's karma, there's credit and debit, right? You either owe something or somebody owes you something, so to speak. Okay. So if you're a Buddha and you think about it, because I could never figure out how could you be a Buddha if you still owe somebody something. You still have unresolved karma. So there's debt, if you will. Okay. Now we explain it away in a way by saying that, okay, well, the Buddha comes down to try to save that person's reincarnated soul, in that particular lifetime, because the debt that he owed, maybe that person eventually, the spirit reincarnates as, another human, etc. And so therefore the Buddha comes into this world and tries to save that person. Okay, and to try to, in other words, it's a way to sort of say to repay back that debt. Okay, so yeah, that's a way of looking at it. Okay, but the fact that when you look at the stories about these Buddhists that reincarnated, and they go through literally standard typical lives, then it is hard to try to understand why would they do that in the first place. Why? I mean, why would you come down to this world to try to what? Be born again, live your typical life, like a typical, what we consider typical life. I mean, the during that person's life, that person may have, particular characteristics of honor, respect, blah, blah, blah. But why would you do that in the sense of like not being like really saving a lot of souls? Like, when bodhisattvas come back voluntarily with a specific purpose. Okay. So, but anyway, that again is another topic in itself. So, but yeah.
Well, no, I mean, they do come, the Buddhas come back because of their battles. Okay?
Right.
So there's a purpose.
Right,
It's
there's
not
a purpose.
Like it's just random, whatever.
Right.
I mean, they do have a mission every time they come down. Until 72 lives, it's purposeful.
Right. Yeah.
It's for a reason. Now,
Right.
Tao is in everyday life, so it's not like he comes down and he's already a Buddha.
Exactly.
It's not like that, okay? So he's going to have to go through the normal thing, but he'll use whatever situation, circumstance. If he wants to become an emperor, he has a purpose for becoming an emperor in that life, okay? To
Yes.
whatever, fulfill that particular mission. Now, the karma will, if the conditions are right in that life,
Will
they will
arrive.
arrive.
Right.
Okay, but it's not specifically to fulfill any karma. It's just if it happens
Correct,
to be
correct,
that the
yes.
conditions are right, it will
Correct,
happen
correct.
in that life.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's
Yeah. So yeah, what I did, and Lecturer Tai explained it well, but yeah, what I didn't specifically mention was the fact that what is the purpose of living this particular life, a typical life or a standard life, is to allow the conditions of that karma to come about so that it can be resolved. Okay. Now, when I say that it's typical or whatever, it's like what Lecturer Tai says. Okay, when he comes with a purpose, like to be an emperor, for example, or to be a normal person. Okay, from our standpoint, our human standpoint, it's considered like typical or standard. What I consider as standard, because that is a form of human existence, to become an emperor or to become a normal person or to become a peasant or farmer, etc. Okay. What is not standard, so to speak, from our human perspective, is a person who comes in and becomes a Buddha, like that. Okay. So, but anyway, like I said, that's a topic in itself. So it goes a little bit into, give you some, I guess you could say, thoughts to think about. Sure.
He come back as he was a Buddha already, and he had a choice to come back.
Right.
And then he come back as one of us.
Right. Just a normal person. Right.
Not a normal person. As an emperor.
Or even as an emperor, doesn't matter. Yeah.
Or any other type of,
Right.
of anything else. Is that possible that if he came back with a purpose, which I believe is to help others and figure out something he didn't do before, and is that possible that he, for some reason, he become like the vanity of his second opportunity to come back, and he chose to do that he won't do as well as he did before, because of he feel like, oh, I'm an emperor, and maybe he won't do as good as he did before, or maybe do even better.
Yeah.
Is that possible?
The answer to that question is I don't know. Yes, it's possible. It could be not. But remember, they do come with a purpose, as Lecturer Tai says. Okay, but the purpose could be very broad. It could be, for example, it is to, for example, save a lot of people, or it is to just to resolve any karma that they had in the past. Because after all, as a Buddha, you would, well, as a human person thinking about a Buddha, you would think that when you're in that level of enlightenment, okay, you would want or you would not want to have any unresolved karmas, any debt you owe. You would not want that, because the fact that, after all, you do realize that at that level, there should be no karma. Let's put it that way. Okay, so yes, you do come with a purpose. Now, the purpose may be just as simple as to, oh, I need to one day become a patriarch. Okay, like many of the Buddhas, who became our patriarchs. Okay, or maybe to just to help out to be the patriarchs. Like, for example, in the case of Nanhai Gufu, when she reincarnated as a sister of our 17th patriarch, for example. Okay, or literally just to come down and say, hey, whatever karmas that is in the past, let it resolve itself in this particular life. That's also a purpose. Okay, so, and now, whether you will be influenced by the reincarnation or not? I have to admit, I don't know the answer, but I'm guessing no. Because your original spirit has a purpose to come down for a particular purpose. Okay, you do come down for a purpose. And if it's to resolve the karma, yes. But because your purpose is just to do that, and your original, or your, I guess you say your original spirit or soul, okay, is still a Buddha, okay, then it still influences you in this life, in this particular life, in what you do. And so therefore, I would say most likely not. Okay, I can't tell you that yes or no because I've never gone through that. Okay, so, or I don't know that I've gone through that, but the point is that most likely not. Because if you look at all the reincarnations that they did, okay, it is true that some looks very typical, but most of them do sort of like do a particular aspect in terms of like, especially in being like a patriarch or something like that in our lineage. Okay, a lot of that does happen because just looking at Mila, for example, the Happy Buddha, right? He is our 17th patriarch, right? But if you look at the reincarnations of the patriarchs, yeah, he appears more than once in there. He appears more than once. Okay, so I would say that it is most likely that they do not get influenced by in terms of changing their destiny, if you will. Okay, because there is a sort of like a term used in Chinese when Buddhists come down. Or there's two terms. One is 全灵. Oh, no, there's another word. It's not 全灵. It's full spirit. Okay, and the other one's 分灵. Okay, which is sort of like a partial spirit. Okay, what's the other term? It's not 全灵, right? It's another ling. It's for example like when Guanyin, by the way, Guanyin was originally a Buddha long ago. And then when he reincarnated, because he saw how the female gender in the world was sort of like very disadvantaged, so that's why he came in as a lady, when he reincarnated, okay, as Guanyin. Well, at that time she was still a prince and all that, and then she became Guanyin. Okay, after that, but. The original spirit, the Buddha that reincarnated, was of a male gender when he became Buddha. Okay, so sometimes when he came down, he did not do it in a way that is like a partial spirit form. He did it as, what's the term, Chinese term? There's a term for it. It's not Chen means all spirit. There's a term for it to say that the complete spirit came reincarnated into this world, okay, and then lived out their lives like Guanyin did, okay, and became Guanyin Bodhisattva, okay, and then like in the case of like our holy teacher, for example, our 18th patriarch, okay, 18th patriarch, it was by what we call partial spirit. The 分灵 spirit came down, and so he became our 18th patriarch, and then it was then, according to the record, saying that only when he left this world, when he died, at the age of 56, I believe, 58, 56, something like that, that he realized, he was Qigong. Prior to that, as an 18th patriarch, he didn't know he was Qigong. Okay, but because he attained Buddhahood at that time, God also gave him a second title, which is what? Tianran. The heavenly natural, if you translate it literally, Tianran, and then Buddha, Tianran Buddha. But he is also Jigong Buddha. Jigong Buddha. Okay, and hence the separation of what we call post and prior and post heaven. Jigong is, in a way, we consider it as prior heaven, okay, and post heavens when after he reincarnated and we recognize him as who he was, etc. Okay, in his latest reincarnation, that we give him he has also another title, and that's what the post heaven. So that's why when we're doing the bows, you'll see Jigong in the front, and then all of a sudden you hear Tenran in the back. But they're the same, technically they're same spirit. Okay, well, technically we're all of the same spirit, but point is in terms of being able to identify. Okay, so, but again, I'm sorry, that's a total sidetrack, but I just, it's sort of like got related to post heaven, and it got related to karma, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so what is meant by the prior heaven mission? Okay, because again, Qigong breaks it up into two parts. Okay, for the prior heaven, it is to save the 96 original souls, to allow the 96 original souls to attain the origin and return to the source, to return back to absolute heaven. Okay, so here's a couple terms that's, well, the main term is this, 9-6. Anybody know what is meant by 9-6?
9 indicates male and 6 female.
Right, that's one interpretation I've heard of, yes. Any other ones? Kai?
Well,
96?
96 million? Is it 960 million or?
No, no, you're right.
Souls or
I've heard of
something
that too. I've heard of that too.
That's also another.
No, some people say it's like 9亿
Yeah.
Oh no,
960 million.
96亿啊，对，96亿是
Oh,
96 yeah, right, it's 9.6 billion if you translate to English. 96 billion souls. Another interpretation, as Virginia had mentioned, was the fact that 9 and 6 is related to what we call the Bagua, the I Ching. Okay, the I Ching. Yeah. Well, when the 8 trigrams became the I Ching, the 64 hexagrams. Okay, the 64 is called the I Ching. The 8 is called the Bagua. Okay, just so that we understand terms. Okay, and in each of those trigrams or hexagrams, there's a hexagram or trigram for Qian,
Yeah,
which is what, male, Qian, okay? And then there's a trigram or hexagram for Kun, and that happens to be female, okay? And the position that they're in is defined by the 9-6, okay? Now, again, that's one interpretation that I've heard also, okay? So, whichever interpretation you want to look at it, it sort of like doesn't really matter to me in the context of this, but rather it is just to say that because after all, the male and the female interpretation seems to be more easily understood, okay, because after all, we are of two genders in this world, okay, and the 9-6 just refers to the fact that, yeah, it is literally everyone, okay, not necessarily a number, but some people still consider a number. Okay, now what the number is interpreted as is also a little bit in question. Some people say it's a total of 9.6 billion. So people bring up the question of, well, does it include all those people who have already died? Because after all, the human population right now is what, 8, almost 8, 7 point something, correct? Billion. Yes.
No, but it's cumulative.
Yes. Yeah. So
Not at
yeah.
one
Yeah.
time.
So the question is, yeah, right. Is it all those in the past? Meaning it's
I mean, but
accumulated.
A lot of those primitives also
Right. But they
reincarnate, but still doesn't matter.
right. They reincarnate. Yeah.
Because
So
double count.
anyway, doesn't matter how you look at it. The point is that there is a lot of souls, okay, in this world. Okay. And then what is it? What is that prior mission then? It is to save the original souls, to allow those souls to return back to the source. Okay, to realize their origin and return back to the source. Okay. Okay, so then the second part of the question is, what is meant by the post-heaven side? It is to transform or purify the people's heart and mind, to advance the great harmony, to let everyone rectify their moral character. Okay, that's according to my interpretation or translation. So, and then to to transform, purify, to advance the great harmony, to let everyone rectify normal character, also to achieve a satisfactory family and harmonious society. Okay. So in a way, all of us, okay, well, I don't know, I can't say necessarily for all of us, okay, but most of us, I would probably say, the fact that we're cultivators, okay, could probably say that yes, we all probably had been in, heaven before, and that we have made a vow to come down to what? Help the propagation of the Tao. Okay. Now, the only thing I can say is that I don't know whether I should say all of us or some of us. It's because an experience I had in Taiwan when I was attending, or actually lecture Thai was attending a Dharma class in Taiwan. Okay. And I, having attended Dharma classes before, was just there to record the Dharma class. Okay. And during that time, Nanhai Gufu, the statue in the center, in the center lamp, came. She channeled. And because talents always comes in three people, she channeled, and then two other little saints channeled. By little saints, I mean, the kid saints. I don't know. I guess you want to call it that. Okay. And those two kid saints happen to be the little, the little saints that always stay with Nahai Gufu. Yeah. Have we done the Nahai Gufu story yet?
Yeah.
Oh, we have? Okay, so you all know about that, right? So you,
Never heard that.
Sudana was one of them.
The boy.
yeah. There's many boys, and there's many girls too.
I mean, yeah, you can say
But the main leader of the boy, if the elders of the boys, is Sudana, and what's the other one?
Dragon Girl.
Dragon Girl. Okay, yeah, Lonely. Oh, by the way, Lonely came once before. I saw her before once. Very interesting. Yeah, she channeled once before. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, she then went around after composing her, scripture, etc. Right? She then went around, starting having conversation with the members of the class, and she then mentioned the fact that, hey, in this particular class, 4 of you have made me a promise to come into this world to help in the propagation of the Tao. 4 of them. And then everyone is like, really? Okay, and they all looked around each other, and then the 2 little saints, if you will, then said, oh, I found one, and then they found one, they did a total of 4. I don't remember all of them, but at least one of them was an elderly person in his middle age, 40s, 50s. Another one was a young girl, relatively young girl in her early 20s. Okay, and the other 2, I didn't really have a good memory of them. Okay, but the point is that each of them was, the little things came around and said, "Oh, I found you. It's you," and so they were all told to stand up. And they look totally puzzled or bewildered because they don't remember. They don't remember having been with her, but the point is that she then told them that they said, you're here in this world because you do have a mission to do or an assignment to do, because you promised me that you would do this assignment. And that is why, she says, she allowed them to come into this world. Okay. Now, but yet, if you look at it, these are normal, before the day that we had the Dharma class, if you will, or even if you look at it from the point of before the day they even received the Tao, they were what? Very normal. Okay. But yet, a point occurred in their life, which is the day in which they agreed to receive the blessing of the Tao, and then the day that they agreed to attend the Dharma class. Okay, so in a sense that their lives did change from what we consider normal, typical human life. Okay, so in that sense, you would now have an idea of the fact that if you come into this world, okay, and you did have a mission or purpose, if you will, an opportunity will arise in which one day you will somehow get involved or realize, eventually realize, hopefully, but get involved with the Tao. So the fact that we're all here tells you something about yourself. Okay, why is it that you became interested in the Tao? Because somebody just, you were just trying to be nice or whatever. Okay, or trying to be nice to someone so that you don't want to embarrass them. So yeah, you go ahead with the ceremony, blah blah blah, and they tell you, oh, you gotta attend the Dharma class. Okay, yeah, just don't bother me. I'll attend the Dharma class, etc. Right?
Never see them again. See, so this is all part of the awakening process.
Yeah, exactly.
So, there are many levels, okay? Buddha is, it's an example of
Special,
complete awakening.
special.
From a
Prince.
ordinary, not, I'm gonna say ordinary, he was a prince, okay? So it's not ordinary, but from we say ordinary meaning non-awakened state, okay? All the way to the highest enlightened state, right? Anuttara Samsara Bodhi. So and he's compressed in one lifetime, obviously.
Yeah,
But
right.
that's because he was also Bodhisattva.
Many,
So
many
that's
lives
different.
before.
That's different. Well, yeah, multiple lives.
Like multiple lives
Or
before,
for
right?
multiple kalpas, probably.
Maybe.
Who knows? But so we are, so we're kind of clueless about what we're doing here. Well, I don't know. I was born here. I live a life, and then boom, die. Whoa, that's pretty sad. That's pretty common. We say common, right? Very common because everybody like that. So our whole idea is we have to wake up. Wake up. And I don't mean wake up you listening to me now. I don't mean that. I mean spiritually. That's physically. Right? Physically wake up. Yeah, hopefully most of you are awake. You're not sleeping, right? So, okay. But I mean spiritually, or we say spiritually. Internally. That's what I'm saying. Internally. We have to have that Bodhi mind. That's a must, a necessary condition, a necessary ingredient to become enlightened. If you're not waking up, quote unquote, spiritually, never become enlightened. You'll never become enlightened. Very simple, right? So that's why we have to learn about Buddha nature. We have to learn what is it that, what is life? What is life, right? The four noble truths, etc., all that. We have to learn. We have to, ignite that spark within our mind. And then that's also part of the process called 明心见性, which is a necessary, it's also awakening. It's an awakening process too. Use four simple words, but you have to understand the difference between your conscious mind and your Buddha nature. That's really, if you want to break it down, that's the two components. Then you can break it further down. But that's what it is. 明心 means to understand your conscious mind, which is what? Most people just say, oh, I have a conscious mind. That's my real self. So that's wrong. That's a called ego view. 我见. That's called ego view. Get it? So that's wrong. Unfortunately, 99.99% of the people got stuck at that level. They just understand, yeah, I have a conscious mind, and that's real, or eternal, and that's it. That's false. Okay? So the trisyllogism will help you. Well, but that's why there's a trisyllogism. Anybody know what trisyllogism is? It doesn't matter. It's in the glossary list. If you understand that, then you realize that, you have an essence, an eternal being. We call it, Buddha nature to simplify. That gives rise. That gives rise to our conscious mind, which is the function of our conscious mind. Get it? That's the consciousness. The consciousness. Get it? That's the first half of the phrase, 明心, to understand that, my conscious mind, my ego is actually not my true self, not my eternal self. It comes and goes. It has a beginning and has an end, and it's not eternal. That's only a function. So you can say that's an illusion, okay? And then 见性, to literally means to see your nature, meaning to realize your nature. Wait a minute. Behind that conscious mind, I have a true essence that's eternal. You get it? So that's the whole process. So you can sum it up, those four words. It's that awakening process to, become enlightened. Okay? Sorry.
Yeah, and how we can achieve that, what Lecturer Kai just mentioned, is the fact that, it is based upon also, each of us has our own pace in terms, or our own, I guess you could say, time in which that we will begin to progress much further into the Tao. Because all of us have different karmas, okay? And so therefore, the point at which we reach that, that level, if you will, of understanding will be different for each one of us. Okay, so some people may, you may see some people, it's very dedicated in the Tao, blah, 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 blah. Others, not necessarily, okay. It's because each of us has our own different karmas, and the time has not yet, quote unquote, arrived, if you will, for us to reach that point. Okay, and then there's another point in which that it is true that Lecture Kai says, yeah, we can get to the point where we acknowledge the fact that we have a Buddha nature or realization. Okay, but that's really just an acknowledgement that we have this Buddha nature. It's a process by which the point at which from this acknowledgement to becoming a Buddha to the realization that we're a Buddha has a process. Okay, meaning the fact that that's where cultivation comes in. In other words, it's easy to say right now, all of us can say, hey, yeah, we have this Buddha nature within us. Okay, does anybody disagree with that? No, right? Everybody agrees with that. But at what point do you really realize it? Okay, because if you can truly realize it, then you will live your life like a Buddha. Because that's why what our Buddhists and saints always constantly tells us, what? The Tao is in your everyday what? Lives. It's not you come to a temple and you come up to this podium and you speak and you do a great presentation. But then really, outside of that, you look at the person, okay, very normal. You know, he does the same thing that a normal person would do, so to speak, a typical person would do. Then you would realize that, yeah, you know how to act in a temple, but do you really know how to act in your life? Okay, and that's why, in fact, there's in the 15 rules and regulations, that's part of it. There's part of it later on. So therefore, to truly reflect or manifest the Tao or the Buddha nature within you, you can look at a person and watch the way they live their life. And when you see that, you can tell that, yeah, this person knows that there's a Buddha nature, but hasn't yet realized that Buddha nature. Okay, because in my definition, realization implies the fact that, yeah, it is literally you. It becomes you. In other words, you not only live your life as a Buddha, so to speak, you speak, talk, and walk like a Buddha. You know, just like we say about a duck. If you quack, walk, and whatever, talk like a duck, it's a duck, right? Same thing. Okay, so that is what I meant by realization. Okay, but we're deviating a little bit. Okay, because here he brings up a second point. Post-heaven assignment. Wait. You know, you ask yourself, why is there a post-heaven assignment? Why not just the pre-heaven assignment? Why the post? Anybody want to take a guess? Why is there a post-heaven assignment? Well, think about it in this term, okay, in these terms. When the Buddhist tells us to help to propagate the Tao, right? To introduce others to the Tao, right? One of the things that the Buddhist does try to emphasize also is what? To propagate it to something called 缘福子. This is a Chinese term. 缘福子, original soul, I guess. It's talking about the 9-6, the 9-6. And you can say, oh, okay, that makes sense. That, you're talking about the pre-heaven. That's correct. Okay, and so Buddha tells us to do that. Why is it that we want to propagate the Tao to those people, to introduce them to the Tao to those people? Why? Because even according to the Buddha and saints, especially Qigong, he says, when you introduce the Tao to these 缘福子, for them, it is something that clicks. And so therefore, they are very eager to learn about this Tao and then to cultivate the Tao. So that's why sometimes when you meet people, it could be a total stranger or friends, doesn't matter. And then you happen to just mention the Tao, and they happen to become very interested in it, or somehow they feel an attachment to wanting to learn more about this Tao. In that sense, you can say that they're like the 缘福子, because 缘福子 are people essentially who have already a foundation of cultivation. Okay, so that's okay. That's easy to explain. So that's our pre-heaven, right? But wait a minute, we're talking about post-heaven here. What does it say? What is the post-heaven sign? It is to transform the people's heart and mind to advance the great harmony, to rectify their moral character, to achieve a satisfactory and harmonious society. What does that mean? Well, go ahead.
Adapt to whatever circumstances we are in.
Yeah, you can say that. Now think back again to what the Buddha says. When the Buddha talks about us propagating or introducing to the people to the Tao, right? Let's face it, Buddhas know that, yeah, you're going to face sometimes people say, oh, no, I don't believe it, I'm not interested in it, right? Isn't that correct? Yeah, there will be people who do not yet wish to be interested in what you're talking about at that point in time. It's possible, okay? And so what does the Buddha tell us then to what? How should we conduct ourselves? The Buddha mentions two words, 随缘. What does 随缘 mean? Okay, 随缘 is in Chinese, of course. It means what? Virginia, if you want to translate that, 随缘. It seems like to say, let it be as it is, or something like that, or like
Go with the flow.
go with the flow, like that, something like that. That's sort of like a loose translation of it. Yeah, that's a loose translation. Like just go with the flow. Just saying, oh, they rejected. Okay, fine. We're still good. Whatever. Because the Buddha also says this. When we have any type of karma with people, you always, regardless whether, if they're interested in the Tao, great, fine. If they're not, that's fine too. But you also what? 结善缘 means what? To establish a good or benevolent, I guess, relationship still. In other words,
Karmic affinity.
in other words, you still maintain a good karmic affinity with them. In other words, you don't say, if a person doesn't want to receive that, you start getting angry. You say, hey, I'm telling you, I'm trying to save your soul here. Come on.
Or you start threatening them, say, hey,
You're going to go to hell.
you're going to go to hell after
Right,
you
right.
too bad.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes you say, oh, you don't have the good foundation.
Yeah, or you begin to criticize them in a way, okay? Because we can lose, and that means that in a way it shows our own character, right? Reflects our own character, whether we've cultivated it very well or not. And honestly, we haven't. If you begin to do that, and we can get carried away, especially if we become whether you're passionate or very, emotional about this.
So that's why it's not forced. It's
Exactly, it's
actually
always
wu-wei. It's not
right.
conditioned. It's just
right.
you talk to them once, and if they don't, then that's it. Then just let it go. Then that's
Yeah.
it. Then
At that time,
don't
let it go.
try to-
No,
right,
no,
for that moment.
for that moment.
Because
Let it go.
It depends on your relationship.
Yeah,
with
right, that person.
obviously. If it's a total stranger, you probably never see them again, or whatever. If it's a relative, you probably.
Or it could be your husband or wife.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I'm
right,
saying. Depends
right.
on the
Exactly.
circumstance, the affinity depends on the affinity, right? The level of affinity or whatever,
Right.
closeness of affinity, whatever. But that's why I don't like just constant. It's
Well,
like almost
okay,
like
that's getting
nagging.
too much. But the whole idea is this: is that is why it talks about the fact that it's just to transform the people of the heart and mind, and then to advance the great harmony, which is the great harmony. It's all well. Have we done great harmony yet in
Yeah,
terms of
yeah,
class?
She did.
Okay, yeah, okay, good. So you all know what it is, so I don't explain it. Okay, the great harmony, and to what? Rectify your moral character. In other words, all you can do, if you can, that is just to plant a seed of saying, oh, hey, there's goodness in this world. We have this goodness within ourselves, and we can become a good person. And that is all. There's no push to say, oh, okay, in order for you to go to heaven, you have to receive the Tao, and if you don't, you go to hell. No. That is
Even
what.
though that's the truth, that's okay.
Regardless, whether it is the truth or not, it's not for us to judge. Okay, so therefore, because it is only at that moment that the person rejects it, so to speak. Okay, because we don't know what their foundation is. I mean, if you could see their karma, okay, maybe that's a different story. But if you cannot see their karma, you don't know. Maybe next year the person will become interested.
So it's not ripe.
Yeah, so it's
Sense.
because
Not mature.
the conditions are not ripe yet for
Are not
them
mature,
to come to
yeah.
this realization. So anyway, so that's why we only try to do our best in order to just to promote it, but not to enforce it. Okay, and then also what? To achieve satisfactory and harmonious society. Like I said, like Lecture Kai says, different situations, friend, stranger, or even husband and wife. What happens if it's a husband and wife? What happens then? If one person goes along with it, maybe, and because of their karma, they became together, blah, 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 blah. But the other person really doesn't agree with it. Then what do? Do you start arguing with your wife or husband, wife? No, of course not. You still, what? Be the best husband or wife that you can be. Okay? But it is not to say that you backtrack necessarily. Because after all, what's one of the vows that we make when we receive the blessing, the Tao?
逆道不行，退缩不前。
对，退缩不前 or 不量力而为者 or
Yeah,
不诚心修炼者 okay, blah, blah, blah. Okay, the part of the 10 vows. We did the 10 vows, right? Okay, good. So we all know the 10 vows. Okay, so the point is that we still, however, must remain firm within our, what? Belief, but yet at the same time, what? Be harmonious or try to be as harmonious as you can. Because one of the things that was hard for me to sort of like really accept, or so to speak, when I was reading about the sayings of Qigong, and he was saying that, hey, sometimes, we need to be very tolerant, okay? And we need to be able to, like, even Lecturer Liu in his Buddha Nature class talked about the fact that there's something called the 方便法. the convenient, the convenient or expedient, convenient, expedient method. In other words, you try to do it in a harmonious way, okay? Or what we say, 圆满. 圆满. The word here, satisfactory, does not really truly define.
Literally means perfect.
Yeah, right.
How do you define perfect?
Yeah, but 圆满, because when Buddhist tells us, when we're in certain situations where we are having a decision that we make, or sometimes we do things, the Buddha always tells us to do things in a 圆满 way. Not to say, oh, he's right, he's wrong. Or she's right, she's wrong. But rather a 圆满 way. 圆满 way does not imply, it's almost like saying, oh, you could compromise in a 圆满 way. Yeah, perhaps you do. Because 圆满 way, what? Does not create the negative karma that we're talking about. It allows for the 随缘, but also allows the person to understand there is a difference of opinion, okay? And so therefore there's need to compromise. And that is what 圆满. It's not to say you have the rules and regulations says this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You must do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, when you can. But also part of the 15 rules and regulations is what? What's another one?
Flexible.
Right. So you can say, wait a minute, isn't that a contradiction? No, because you have to understand the situation and you have to do it in a 圆满 way as opposed to be very rigid.
Whatever is most appropriate.
Right. What is appropriate for the situation. So sometimes it can be like some people say, hey, you're compromising. Well, yeah, that's
a
true.
rigid view.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, 借镜取见. Anybody know what that is? Part of the five, what do you call that? Keen views, right? 5 sharp views. 五四, right? 5 sharp. 五力四, yes. 5 sharp.
Okay, well, but yeah, we're gonna have to do that later because I need to finish this one. Okay, so here that's why he says disciples. Would you consider this a heavy responsibility? You know, this what? Shouldering this responsibility, right? Consider it an honorable if you can all can. But he says, in a way, what the holy teacher is saying is, yes, it is a heavy responsibility. Okay, it is a big burden. Okay, because however, if all of you can do your utmost, okay, assist heaven to proclaim, to introduce the Tao, if you will, okay, to put into practice or effect the saintly way, which is what? Learn how to become like a Buddha, act like a Buddha, talk like a Buddha, okay, live like a Buddha, okay, and virtuously rectify ourselves as we grow, okay. Grow, it doesn't really here means in our growth in becoming adults. It's not a great translation, but it just means as we grow in our cultivation of the Tao. Really, that's what it means, okay. And then to be able to manifest that Tao within you, okay. Because if you can truly manifest that Tao, meaning literally live your life like a Buddha, for lack of a way of describing it, then what? Guess what? No matter where you go, what you say, what you do, people will always what? Respect and admire you. Okay, because after all, you don't create negative karma, number one. Okay, and you're always 圆满 with other people. Okay, so, okay, and at the same time, not only to manifest the Tao within us, but to simultaneously utilize the Tao in our daily lives. This is again, live and walk, talk like a Buddha. Okay, to have one's consciousness and balance, have a peaceful division with clear conscience, and to have family members be happy and grateful. Okay, that just means the fact that if you can achieve that manifestation, then yes, you will have harmony in the family, etc. Okay, and after all, and then how does then that relate to society? Okay, let's see. To have a safe, harmonious society, to have happiness and joy among people, to have the 9-6. Okay, the 9-6, of course, we know is the prior mission. Okay, to have happiness and whatever, and also to have this great harmony, 大同, it's because of the fact that when we ourselves can achieve a certain manifestation of Tao, it affects those around us. And what does Confucius say about how do you have a harmonious world? The great harmony. It begins with what? Yourself, your family, your friends, and then your community, then society, then the country, and then the world. Right. So it's a natural progression. So if you can achieve that, it becomes a natural progression. Now, it's not to say, because you can say, wait a minute, hold a second. During the time of Buddha himself became a Buddha, and look what happened. The world was still pretty bad or pretty chaotic. Okay, well, that's true. That is only one person. So the whole idea of us, many cultivators, if we all can achieve that, then yes, it's much easier for the world to become harmonious world. Okay, so what essentially what Buddha himself mentions above, okay, what all that mentioned was above is really to shoulder and carry out the mission or the responsibility. That's what the topic of the 15 Buddha, the rule is, the 5th rule. Okay, especially during this because we are in a time of universal salvation, right? Okay, and so therefore the end times are near, unfortunately. Okay, so important thing is you must always be sure to remember to grasp the whole one's intent, rectify one's conduct, and be careful of bad harmful influence. Okay, never just be reverent and respectful when in a temple, yet upon becoming home, be lax and loose. So that is what Buddha's trying to say, is the fact that whatever you learn in your cultivation, you don't just practice it because you're in a temple. You practice it in your life, daily life. The temple is just part of your life. That's all. Okay, but you have to try to practice it 24/7, so to speak. Okay, and then it is only when you are able to do such that is what it truly meant by to shoulder and carry on the responsibility. Okay, so any questions or anything? I mean, we deviated a little bit about other stuff, but this ends pretty much this presentation. But this particular rule number 5 of the rules and regulation. So any comments? Yes.
I want to know, can I get a printout of that?
Yeah, you can if you want. There's some grammatical errors and all that stuff that had to be corrected, like number 2 here, which I don't know why. Okay, so any other questions or anything like that? Okay.
It's also, you can summarize that the external part. Well, it's 2 parts. It's 立志立人. The same thing.
Well, if you look at
yourself, meaning
right.
You have to be
establish yourself to become like a.
You have to realize, right? Your Buddha nature inside, and then you act according to your Buddha nature. That's 立志.
Right.
Okay, that's to.
And then to affect.
立人, that when you in the process of manifesting, right?
You affect.
Buddha nature,
you influence.
You also help others
to achieve the same. That's why it's in the Great Harmony.
Yeah.
己利利 no.
No, it's
己利利利人，己达达人. Right.
No, it's in the
Oh,
essence of
语音大不
Tao.
用. Oh,
yeah.
The other one.
Essence of Tao, that's good.
The essence of the essence of Tao. Yeah.
It is.
Did we go through that, by the way?
Yeah, together.
Oh,
It was
okay.
one class together.
Okay. So you all know about it, or at least you'll get reminded of it. Okay. So we do have translations of it. The Great Harmony and the Purpose of Tao. It's called the Purpose or Creed. Tao's Creed or Purpose. Purpose of Tao. Yeah. The aim, whatever. Yeah. So anyway, So if you look at that, it truly reflects, what we as cultivators should do. Okay. So thank you very much. I thank the grace of heaven and the virtue of our masters, and the benevolence of our transmitters that I have this opportunity to present to you the fifth out of 15, rules and regulations, or the precepts of the Tao. Thank you very much.